Wretch was a strange name. You never knew if someone was calling you or cursing you. My watch. A shout came from behind. That wretched child. By the saint, a thief. Wretch froze. In a moment, every eye in the market would be on him. Officers would come running, and the lady would scream, he thought, sliding his hand out of the woman's purse. She turned, swaying her bulbous dress, an expression of shock hidden under layers of white powder. He offered an awkward smile, then burst into a sprint. Thumping boots and a shrill yelp came from behind him as he weaved through the crowd, slipping between canes, sacks and startled curses. Dashing through a market that smelled of fresh bread, perfume and horse-dung. He cut to the right, sliding into an alleyway of twisting pipes and valves. With every step of his mismatching boots, his oversized coat rattled. Damn jewelry is heavy, he thought, glancing behind him. 2 burly men rushed into the alleyway after him. Thankfully the officers up here were always well fed, but if they caught him, he'd be lucky to just be chucked down the spires. He vaulted a stack of crates, one hand to his chest to steady the stolen goods. In front, the narrow alley ended in a bustling street of pedestrians and horse-drawn carriages. If you were half as desperate as me, you might have had a chance. A shadow stepped from the street ahead, blocking his exit, a woman in uniform. Lay down the contraband, she shouted. You're surrounded. It was true, but it wasn't the first time Wretch had been cornered. He upped the pace, drawing a pearl necklace from his coat. The officer's brow knitted and her saber screeched from its scabbard, whistling through the air towards his jugular. He dropped low, sliding between her legs. The blade cut nothing, and she stumbled, staring down in surprise. White pearls scattered across the street. The 3 officers didn't notice. Squeezing out of the alley with bated breath, they yelped as their feet shot out from under them. Wretch didn't wait for them to get up. Rushing towards a line of waiting passengers, an elevator of the spires rose ahead, a massive cage of warped metal and glass. Steam engines pulling chains as thick as a man. This one had just departed, leaving a chain rattling downwards just beyond a thin safety railing. Good timing. He dashed past a sign he couldn't read, past the startled queue and jumped, 1 foot on the railing and then flight. The ticket clerk froze mid-stamp, staring with wide eyes and open mouth, as Wretch soared out over the abyss. He slammed against the chain, clambering onto an iron link with a cramp-like grip. The sudden jerk ripped against his shoulders, threatening to dislocate his joints. Above, the shocked queue and the staggering officers vanished from sight, leaving only him and the chain rattling downwards faster than he'd like. Wind rushed past his face, and his stomach rose to his throat. Still he held on, heartbeats thumping in his ears. How is that for an escape? He thought, tasting iron in his mouth. Below him yawned 1,000 feet chasm to the ground level, the lows they called it. 1 slip and they'd have to scrape up his remains. Pushing an arm through a metal link, he found a more comfortable grip. As comfortable as you could be dangling an inch from death. With nothing left to do but cling on to dear life, he took in the view. The city of Novianovsk rushed past, a city as much built towards the clouds as along the ground. The spires pierced the sky like black needles. Fully in view as he descended a similar one, each a massive structure rising over the city. Their every floor, a cluttered mess of machinery and neighborhoods. Walkways and tubing stretched between them, stitching the towers together like strands in a spider's web. The spires were where power lived, he was sure of it. Beneath them spread the lows like a sea of rust, smokestacks, industries, and 1,000 chimneys vomiting soot. In the red light of the setting suns, humanity's foremost stronghold looked almost beautiful, the starvation and desperation of the lows hidden by the permanent smog of pollution. On the horizon, the outer wall rose like a frozen wave of white stone, shielding Novianovsk from the things that lurked beyond. Still, when something did crawl over that white granite, or surfaced from the forgotten sewers below, the horrors always ended up in the lows. Then you'd best hope a hunter was close. Wretch closed his eyes and breathed deep, filtering out the metallic roar of the chains. All right, Akim, you bloody bastard, you'd better keep your part of the deal. A dangerous climb, and an hour later, he passed through the inner wall, the border between the spires and the lows. Leaving was easy, coat pulled up high and eyes on the ground. Why wouldn't it? None in their right mind would leave willingly. Getting back in, though, that required papers, stamps and coin. He had none of those, but Akim did, forged or otherwise. Crammed into a barrel at the back of a rum cart had proved a comfortable and reliable way to enter, as long as you didn't mind the fumes.